there, folks. This is your host of Moto Mondays, the motivation leader of the Motivation Nation, Mr. Motivation, or your Motivación. These colors today. Eddie Velazquez, and your Besto Crucero champion, telling you to check out the Keith Andrew Network. It's a genuine good time, and I'm feeling fine. So, check it out.
Keith Andrew Network. That's right. The one and only Keith Andrew Network. It is episode 752. That's right. It actually, let me just rephrase. Yep, 752 of the great episodes of the Keith Andrew. The best, some of the worst. But like you said, it's going to be bigger, better. Not all of them got to be wonderful. But the point is, I'm showing people with a disability, look at what you're able to accomplish when you put your heart and soul into anything. Today on the show, I'm here with Eddie, my good friend Eddie. I just want to say thank you for being a guest on the show. Looking forward to our episode. Thank you for your time.
Certainly. Thank you.
Now, for the first question I want to ask you, and for our audience, tell our audience a little bit about yourself and a little bit about your background.
Okay, I guess the general gist I can give, a summary of my whole life, if you will. I grew up in Pennsylvania. My parents were immigrants. You know, they wanted me to have the best opportunity available. And so instead of having me born over in Mexico, they had me born over here in the USA. And I did amateur wrestling back in middle school and high school. After that, I did a 1 year of college for personal training. Never ended up finishing that. I don't know if I'll go back. I have other ambitions for college, if you will, possibly massage therapy. But right after my first year, I ended up joining the Marine Corps Reserves. I have to be specific with saying the reserves because I know there are some active duty mother flowers out there that will say, hey, I remember serving with you. Don't say Marines. You better specify the reserves, you understand, because you're a weekend warrior. You're not on our level. Anyway, so after that, I served a good bit of my time. And actually, it was 2016, late November, I decided to make the jump into professional wrestling, and I was still under, I don't know how you say, my contract, if you will, for the Marines. So I missed out on some bookings, unfortunately, but it is what it is. And May of 2019, last year, I finished my obligated time in the Marines, and I've been trucking it towards professional wrestling ever since.
No, absolutely. The first thing I want to say is thank you for your service. And the first question I want to ask you is, who influenced you to be part of these? Let me just clarify. What part of the Army were you from again?
What was the last part?
Oh, are you in the Army or Navy, Air Force?
Oh, Marines.
Well, first off, I love the Marines. They're the greatest things ever. Not to sound like Trump ever. It's huge, it's wonderful. But the Marines, absolutely one of my favorites. And I always wanted to be in the Air Force, maybe in an alternative universe. I didn't have a disability, and I would have been part of the Air Force. But like I said, the first thing is thank you for your service. But the question I want to ask you is, who influenced you to be part of the Marines?
Honestly, well, it happened during my second semester of college. Actually, I bumped into the gentleman who ended up being my recruiter. He was recruiting at the time, of course, like recruiters do, and he just gave me some information about the possible benefits I could receive and everything, and that's what interested me at first. But what locked me in essentially was the change that I could receive from it, the discipline that could be instilled in me to just be a better version of myself. I guess I'm going to get a bit personal here, but My father, he was working two full-time jobs at the time, and I was never a bad child. Neither of my brothers were as well, but I just knew, at least personally, that we could be doing more. And I remember hearing my father wake up very early in the morning, between 4 and 5 a.m. He just sounded miserable, like, oh, please, not yet. He's just so tired. And again, I just wanted to do more to help out around the household. So I just knew I needed to do something that could take some sort of weight off his shoulders, that I could come back and help out. And unfortunately, when I came back from my training, he had to go back to Mexico for various reasons. And I essentially became the man of the house, and did what I had to do. And I'm here. But it was very fortunate that, I guess, the timing of everything when I went to the Marines, because again, that discipline that I had received, it was just very good timing, because I just made things happen. I didn't even have my license at the time. Yeah, no, I believe I was 20 years old. Yeah, I was 20 years old at the time. Still didn't have my license. I always asked my dad if he could take me, driving, to get my permit and, license and all that. But he always said, yes, I'll do it. We'll go. But he was always so tired, and, I didn't want to just push him to do it. But so no one influenced me, but it was my dad that made me just want to be better. My parents were never around too much, because they were always working, especially my dad. So he just kind of was a good example. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. It's always positive to have a role model to mirror yourself after. Not saying you want to be a carbon copy,
Right.
but it's always good to have someone to look up to.
Yeah, it's funny because the more I'm growing up, the more I'm just naturally being more like him. I've seen um, instances where uh, a lot of folks in my family will tell you, if you ask, that he was too nice for his own good. And I mean, some folks don't think I'm the nicest guy, but I mean, even my friends say I'm bad words sometimes, but they still hang out with me, so I guess I'm doing something right. But yeah, so being nice, and also he loved to cook for us in between jobs. Like, the little break that he had at home, the what, maybe 1 to 2 hours or so, he would go get groceries real quick or whatever, or just cook what he had at home and cook a delicious meal for us in between jobs. And so I had some similar hustle that he had throughout the past couple of years, uh, and I am learning to cook. I don't know if I'm at his level, you know, but I'm when I the last time I visited him was in 2015 in July, and obviously I've grown a lot since then, and especially with cooking as well. And I told him recently when we were on the phone with each other, I said, "Hey, Dad, we're gonna have a cook-off. You understand?" And he just laughed because I know he loves to cook, and I think it's just funny, us being similar in that aspect. But just me wanting to compete with my dad in some sort of sense, you know what I mean? Um, I can't wait to do that sometime soon. With everything that's going on right now, with restrictions and such, it's difficult to get down there, especially. He has something at the moment. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but I have to keep my distance and be patient, wait for him to recover and all that good stuff. But hopefully we get that cook off sometime soon. I'm going to record it. It's going to be a great time.
Oh, absolutely. Now we're going to take a quick commercial break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about professional wrestling and about disabilities in wrestling.
Terrace Check. I'm Julie Brothers.
Jenna Curtis.
I'm Jenny Fine.
Hi, it's Mimi Chen.
Hi, my name is Ella George.
I'm Shauna Toth.
Hey guys, I'm Anastasia Eckler.
Hi, this is Jackie Nunez.
This is Becky Days.
Hi, I'm Lily Rose.
There, I'm Saki Mieta.
Hey guys, I'm Alexandria Denise, and you're watching Keith Andrew's show. He's doing a terrific job. Make sure you like and subscribe, and stay tuned for more awesomeness.
Network, the first thing I want to plug is every Saturday in Manhattan, New York, 10:30 in the morning, Channel 2, you get to see the best of the Keith Andrew Network. Also, I want to promote the Keith Andrew Network 24/7. Anytime, any place, anywhere, you can watch the Keith Andrew Network on Facebook and YouTube.com. With that being said, we're going to go back to the show. We're going to talk about professional wrestling and about the theme of my talk show, learning disabilities. The first one I want to ask you is, have you ever worked with, besides me obviously, have you ever worked with people with learning disabilities, and are you willing to work with people with disabilities?
In what extent, if you will?
Well, let's say professional wrestling and everyday life.
Everyday life, absolutely. I mean, you're supporting a cause, which to me is good. I love to do good things. I mean, if you, it's tough, I guess, to hear people, for people to hear me say, I guess, something that sounds good, because not to break kayfabe and all that good stuff, but over there, I'm a heel. And, but no, behind the scenes, real life, all that good stuff, I do like to do good things. But
absolutely. The next one I want to ask you is, say someone like me who has disabilities, I want your honest opinion, and you can be brutally honest.
Okay.
Do you think there's a place in the professional wrestling world for people with disabilities?
Yes, absolutely. There's just such a wide array of people in professional wrestling. You obviously have you're not talented people, you're pretty talented people, and then you're superstars. And they're all different shapes and sizes and characters and personalities and how you say whether they're quick to the mind or witty, anything. I'm not sure if you watched. Did you watch the film that was based around Paige's life, Fighting with My Family? Did you watch that one?
I heard of it. I didn't see it.
Okay, well, in the film, there was Paige and her brother. They were training these kids at a school, right, for pro wrestling, of course. And one of the kids happened to be blind, and that's essentially a disability, no? And a pretty crazy one to deal with in something like professional wrestling. So and that's based on a true story from what I've heard. If you could take a blind person and teach them how to wrestle professionally in the way that we do, I think you can take almost anybody. I've seen, I forget what the proper term is for people below 4'11". It's not midgets, right? Is it just little people or?
Well, I actually interviewed my friend Dan, and he's it's funny, he is the midget world champion. And I wouldn't say short people. I mean, I don't know the really proper term either, but it's like a midget wrestling, and not to be politically correct or anything. Let's just say midget wrestling.
But yeah, I've seen flyers for specifically those types of wrestlers. So again, there's just anyone can be around it. Of course, you might have to be more careful, but if you, I guess, market it the right way, if you want to get some money out of it, or if you just want to do it as a hobby, You just have to be one of the two people. Of course, you need at least minimum two people to be in a match. So at least one of them has to be able to take the lead and to structurize the match and all that. So if at least one of them can lead, you're fine. And actually, there is a gentleman. I'm not gonna say his name, but at one promotion that I work at, he said he's also on the spectrum. And I sent him this video about a gentleman. I forget his name. I can look it up real quick if you want me to take a second. But essentially, the video I sent him was about this man that when he was in high school, a teacher told him to do something, I think on the chalkboard or whatever. He just gave him a task to do, right? And the student had said, well, sir, I can't do that because I'm mentally challenged or something. I think said he was autistic. And then the teacher said, don't you dare ever say that again. And he said, but sir, doctors told me. And then the teacher had said, no. Don't let anyone ever tell you what you are, because you dictate what you are. And then, yeah, he essentially became a motivational speaker. He was talking about how he always wanted to be a radio host, and he was talking about how hungry he was, and he just kept kept persistence on a certain talk show or radio show, and eventually they gave him little tasks to do, like I think just clean. He said, all right, I'll take the broom, mop around, and he did it. And then he stuck around. He got to know all the little mechanics and whatnot, all the tech. And at one point, I think someone didn't show up because they were intoxicated. and then I think one of the big bosses was there at the time. And the man that's telling the story, he said, well, I do, sir. He's like, you get in there and you make something happen. And then he was just practicing ever since, essentially for that day to come that someone just messes up and can't show up. But he was there, and man, the flow he had, if it went down how he said it did, man, that was catchy. Everything that he was saying. I mean, by all means, if I can go back and find some of the links to some of his work, I'd gladly watch it. So people with disabilities, I don't know if sometimes they're overdiagnosed, but I mean, there's so many examples of people achieving great things regardless of their obstacles, whether it's a disability or just a general boulder in their path, whether it's where they're born or how they're born. Again, just, you're a perfect example right now. Like, again, that first message you sent to me, I was astounded. I was in awe. I'm like, he's saying he has something. He's on the spectrum in some sort of sense, but he's messaging me it in a way that not many people do. There's all right. So being professional wrestling, there's folks that hit me up to do either custom 8x10s for me, or they want to do in general graphic artwork for either a logo or something. And they just say, hey, I do this, and this is what I charge. Okay. I mean, like, typically I already have that, or it's just, I just don't like the way you message me that. Like, you don't take yourself seriously and professionally. Like, maybe you have great work, but at the same time, you're messaging me because you want me to pay you for your product, your services. So people always say first impressions matter, and they do, because sometimes all it takes is one shot for either a job or to make or break a possible relationship, if you got a crush on somebody, if you want to talk to them for the first time, just being friends with somebody, anything,
No, I agree with you. I give you a perfect example. There are a couple of wrestlers that I met, and I'm like, I have to go see them again. And I'm not saying because they're beautiful women, I gotta go drop whatever I'm doing and go see them. If I feel like there's a connection with someone, I will go see them. Like Melina Perez, one of the greatest, Velvet Sky, Angelina Love, Allie, Rosemary. If I feel like when I talk to them, there's a connection, I can, feel the electricity in the air, then okay, this is someone who's worth talking to. If you go across somebody like, and I'm not saying maybe they had like a bad day or something. I sat down with Kevin Nash.
Okay.
And I shook his hand. I didn't feel anything. It was like, oh, thank you for your time. It's an honor to meet you. And then I met Scott Hall, same thing. I met Terry Rhodes, I talked to her before about being on the show. And then when I finally met her, we took a picture, and it's like, oh, by the way, when you get some free time, I would love to definitely have you on the show. Next thing you know, she had her hand on me, pushing me away, saying, okay, message me later. And when I was walking away, I saw the guy who she was staring at roll his eyes and went, one-time thing. So there's certain people where you meet, and like, I have to meet this person again. Like Ashley Mazalis. She was a big supporter of my work. She liked my work. Of course, my brother embarrassed me, when we met her the second time. Mm-hmm. But she followed me on social media. She liked what I did. So there's certain people where you got to meet. You're like, you can't wait to meet this. I'm staring at your colors. And the first person that came to mind was Thunder Rosa. She was great at being a guest on my show. And when I met her, she actually gave me a hug. It's like, oh, it's so nice to see you. She was warm and generous. Yeah. She was like a real person. Yet there's... oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying that's cool. I'm glad to hear, she was nice and everything.
No, absolutely. And there's certain people where you're going to click, and there's certain people who will stare at you and size you up and say, like you said, it's the first impression that matters. You get the first 10 seconds to make a lasting impression. So those people who size you up saying, is he real or PG-13? Is he full of shit? And a lot of people say for me that, oh, it's great what you're doing, but it seems like a scam. I don't believe it. So there's certain things where certain people where you meet, you're either going to click and say, okay, you're legit, you're real. And there's other people that say, okay, yeah, that's nice, don't bother me. Yeah. But passing it back over to you, was there any people that you met that you felt a genuine connection with? And are there certain people that during your time in the professional wrestling world were like, yeah, I'm not even going to bother with this person? Passing the show over to you.
Yeah, I'm not going to say any names, but yeah, I mean, some of them just happen to be wrestlers, and I didn't even know who the person was at the time, but I've heard about this person, right? From some of my friends. They said this gentleman wasn't really a very nice person. They were very cocky and very about themselves. And again, I ran into this person at the show, and I liked his outfit or whatever. And, I just like to throw compliments. And I threw him a compliment about his outfit. And then all of his responses were just very short with me, right? And eventually, I heard his name, I think on the microphone or something, or someone applied. So who cares? I heard his name, and that's who he was. And I'm like, oh, no wonder he's acting like that. That's him. That's who my friends were talking about. yeah, I don't want to talk to you no more. I mean, not that he cares about me, but I mean, just trying to, make small talk. I'm not trying to, kiss your rear end or nothing. Um, and then it's funny because the gentleman that was right next to him, he's a pretty big name in the industry, and I happen to train with him. But then some folks have said their negative things about the gentleman I'm talking well of at the moment, but he kind of hasn't changed. To me, I mean, he's just getting better and bigger in the industry. That's it. That's all that I see. He's just improving in various ways. He's staying very humble. He's willing to just talk to me about whatever. So, yeah, first impressions do certainly matter. That's only one example. But yeah, I've seen some others that I don't care to talk to in the future. And it's funny because most of the ones who keep to themselves and are, is this a family friendly show? I mean, I'm not trying. I mean, I heard you kind of.
Oh, it's PG-13.
Okay, well,
But
yeah,
you have the right to say whatever you want.
piece of poop. All right, and it's funny because they can't even really back it up, whether it's in the ring or whether it's out of the ring. I mean, you don't seem talented. You don't seem like you're going nowhere. Promoters as well. They try to. I understand some stuff about loyalty, all that good stuff, but it's funny they all talk about wrestling as a business, but it seems like they're all putting over their friends. You know what I mean? And again, these people as well, they're not really that talented. And at the end of the day, that's up to me and whoever else wants to uh, make it in wrestling to just be undeniable with your talent. You know what I mean? But you just don't be a hypocrite and say like these same people again. They keep posting online. Be professional, all this and that, and then you're playing favorites.
Right.
Like, how is this guy? He doesn't look like a wrestler, talk like a wrestler, dress like a wrestler. Like,
Me on the show. I'm looking forward to part 2 down the road. And I just want to say thank you for your time.